Hey guys, Alex here with Serious Goose Games. Welcome back to our Unity Tactics RPG tutorial. Last time we created a unit stat struct to store stat values that influence different parts of our game like movement range. Today we're going to make it so our attack range becomes visible. To make this work, we need to modify a few things. First, let's hop into our grid manager. And we want to modify our getTileNeighbors function. We're going to make it a little more versatile. I don't want my units to be able to attack diagonally. I want my attacks to be orthogonal, unless, of course, they are ranged. So what I'm going to do is change our getTileNeighbors to incorporate a diagonal check. So we're going to pass in another argument. It will be a bool called includeDiagonals. And then we're going to replace this if statement here. We're going to do if our position X is less than 0, or our position Y is less than 0, or our position X is greater than width, or our position X is greater than or equal to width, or our position Y is greater than or equal to height. If any of those are true, then we're going to continue. Then we're going to get a tile reference called current, and this is going to be equal to map position X, position Y. Then we're going to check if that current tile dot grid position is equal to tile position, and we're going to continue. So basically we're checking first, is it within the bounds? If not, we're going to skip it. Then we're going to check if it's equal to our tile that we're passing in. If it is, we're going to skip it. And now we want to check if we are not including diagonals, so not include diagonals, and is diagonal. And for that, we're going to pass in our map tile position X, tile position Y, and we're going to pass in our current tile that we're looking at. So if we're not including diagonals and the tile we're looking at is diagonal, we're going to skip it. So continue. Otherwise, we're going to do neighbors.add current. So what we did is instead of having one if statement with a ton of conditions and then executing based on those conditions, we're just doing a bunch of smaller if statements to bounce out if any of the conditions aren't met. So we'll keep going until the conditions aren't met, then we'll bounce. If they're all met, then we'll add it. Now, because we changed getTileNeighbors, we're calling that method in getPath. So we want to scroll all the way down to getPath. And when we get the path, we want to factor in diagonals. So current grid position and then true. We're also calling it in getHighlightRange, but we're going to be reworking getHighlightRange. So we're going to leave that for now. Let's hop over to tile, and at the top where we have in move range, we're going to add another bool called in attack range. And by default, it'll be false. Now let's go down to onPointer enter and exit. OnPointer enter should be good as it is. OnPointer exit needs to be modified because now not only are we checking if selected tile is not equal to this, but we also want to check to see if it's in the attack range too. So we're going to nest this ternary. So if it's in the move range, color is going to be cyan. The movement range is going to override the attack range. I want the movement range to be displayed first. I want that to be the main thing. So we're going to replace original color here with in attack range, question mark, color.red. And if it's not in the attack range, then we'll do original color. Now let's hop back to Grid Manager, and we want to modify our reset grid highlights. So inside here where we set tile.inMoveRange equals false, we're also going to do tile.inAttackRange equals false. Now we want to expand our getHighlightRange. So the first thing we're going to do is we're passing in an int range. We are going to rename that to move range. And then we're going to pass in another int called attack range. Now for the movement, we want to be able to go diagonal. So here where we call getTileNeighbors, we're going to pass in true. The next thing we're going to do is back up a little bit, and where we have our reachable tile list, we're going to rename that. This will be our move tiles. And now at the bottom, where we're turning move tiles, that will change. But we want to basically do another pass of our Dijkstra's algorithm. So we're going to create a new hash set of tile. These are going to be called attack tiles. And this will be equal to a new hash set of tiles. And then we're going to loop through the tiles in our move range, because there's no sense in getting the tiles we can move to and adding them to our attack range, because we can move to them. So obviously we can attack them. This becomes a problem if we have a minimum attack range and we can deal with that later. But for now, we'll do for each tile origin in move tiles dot concat. We're going to do a new list of tiles, and we'll pass in our start tile. So if you don't know what concatenation is, it's basically adding things together. It's often done with strings. In this case, we're doing it with a list. So we're taking our move tiles and we are adding our start tile back into the list using concat. And the reason we're not just adding our start tile back into our move tiles is because then our start tile would be in our move tiles and we don't want it to be. So this kind of creates a temporary list, mushes them together, and loops through it. So inside this for each loop, we're going to create a queue. The type is going to be tile, called tile, and int distance. And we'll call this attack queue. And this will be equal to a new queue of tiles and ints. Then we're going to do attack queue dot enqueue. And we're going to put in our origin with a distance of 0. And then we're going to create a hash set of tiles called visited. This will be equal to a new hash set of tiles, and we'll start it out with our origin tile. And then while our attack queue.count is greater than 0, we're going to create a var of type tile and distance. We're going to set this to be equal to attack queue.dq. And then we're going to do a for each loop again, for each tile neighbor in get tile neighbors. We're going to pass in our tile.grid position. And this time we're going to pass in false because I don't want to get diagonals for our attacks. We also don't want to factor in the movement cost of our tiles because either it's a ranged weapon where the terrain isn't quite as impactful anyway, or it's melee and they're directly next to you. So we're going to do if not visited dot contains. So if our visited hash set doesn't contain the neighbor and distance +1 is less than or equal to the attack range, then we're going to add it to our visited list. So visited.add neighbor. We're going to enqueue it. So attack queue.enqueue. And we're going to enqueue our neighbor and then distance +1. And then we're going to add it to our attack tiles. So attack tiles.add neighbor. And then we're going to set neighbor.inAttack range to be equal to true. And then here where we're returning the move tiles, we're going to return move tiles dot concat. We're going to do attack tiles dot distinct dot toList. So we're taking our move tile list and we're taking our attack tile list. We're creating a new list set of those. We're running the distinct method to make sure that there's only one of each in that new list because there will be overlap. So we want to make sure we only have one of each. And then we're converting that back to a list. Okay, so it's yelling at us for a couple things. First off, this D should be lowercase. Second, we're using attack range, but I misspelled it. So we got to make sure that's spelled right. And here where we have a queue of tiles and ints, we need to actually use parentheses here because we're basically defining a little mini type here. And then we got to do the same thing and have kind of double parentheses when we enqueue it to show that that is one argument. Now we need to modify our highlight move range. So we're going to rename range to move range. And then we're going to pass in an int called attack range. We're also going to rename the function itself. Instead of highlight move range, we're just going to change it to highlight range because now it's highlighting movement and attack. And then we need to pass in our attack range when we call get highlight range. Now inside this for each loop here, instead of changing the color, we need to have an if statement to check what color we should change it to. So we're going to start out if tile.inMoveRange, then tile.changeColor to color.cyan, and then we'll do else if tile in attack range, and we'll do tile.changeColor, color.red. So because I'm doing the else if here, if the tile is already highlighted cyan, it's not going to highlight it red just because it's also in the attack range. And that's going to make sure that we have the highlighting properly done. Lastly, we need to hop on into our player script. And right here, change selected unit where we highlight move range. First off is just highlight range now. And secondly, we need to pass in the attack range. So now we can save all of that and head back to Unity. We don't need to change anything in the inspector, so we can just hit play. So back in here, I'm going to select one of our units so that we can see its stats, and then we can hit play. So this unit has a movement range of 9 and an attack range of 2. That is a massive movement range. My other units, I've got a movement range of 1 and an attack range of 2. Movement range of 1, attack range of 3. So let's stick with unit 1 here, which is this little guy. So if I click him, I should see a movement range of 1. So he probably actually won't even be able to move here. And then an attack range of 2. So we should see kind of red tiles around him to show that attack range. So when I click him, we can see all of the red tiles are a distance of 2 away. And that's not factoring in terrain. If I select this guy, same idea, except the attack range is 3. And then this guy has an attack range of 2, I believe, but a movement range of 9. So we can see that kind of attack range is around where he can move to. Now with this unit selected, if I were to click on one of these red tiles, you can see my unit does not move there because it's in our attack range, but it's not in our movement range. So in the next video, we're going to make movement a limited resource so that we won't be able to move endlessly on our turns, and then we can implement turn management, which will allow us to refresh our movement left. That's all for today though, so if you learned anything from this video, hit like so other devs can find this series, and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. In the comments, let me know what type of class system you like in tactics games. We're getting close to that point, and I'm curious what direction you guys think we should take. I've always loved the branching class system that Fire Emblem uses, but it's kind of hard to balance, and some classes tend to be ignored in favor of classes that are definitely superior. As always, thanks for watching. I'm Alex with Serious Goose Games, and I'll see you on the next one.